Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Cameron May. It's 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on a Monday afternoon. That means that it's time to get back to our ongoing weekly series of discussions called Getting Started with Thinkorswim. Just 2 weeks ago, we started this series with a discussion of downloading and the general navigation of the Thinkorswim trading platform. Last week, we got into the Monitor tab, and today, it's a trading platform. We're going to be talking about the Trade tab on Thinkorswim. I think there's going to be a lot to learn for those that are new. A lot of new revelations, and there are also going to be some gems for those that have been using the platform for a while now. So looking very much forward to the discussion. Before we can get to that, though, let me say hello to everybody that's already chatting in. Hello there, Eva and KR, Tom, Robert, Kim, everybody else. Thanks for joining us week after week. Always appreciate your attendance and your contributions to these discussions. If you're here for the very first time, I want to welcome you as well. I'll show you how you can get caught up on the series if you happen to miss the first couple of webcasts. And if you're watching on the YouTube archive after the fact, be aware that you're invited to join us in the live discussion. It does kick off promptly 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 1 o'clock here in the mountains of Utah on Monday afternoons. And as a final heads up, my very good friend Ken Rose is going to be hanging out in the chats with you, answering any questions that I can't get to. Thanks for being there, Ken. Couldn't do it without you. But let's get right into it. Very first thing that we need to do is bear in mind the risks associated with investing. They are significant, so we need to keep them in mind. The information here is for general informational purposes only, should not be considered an individualized recommendation or endorsement of any particular security, chart pattern, or investment strategy. Options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. Any investment decision you make in your self-directed account is solely your responsibility, and investing involves risks, including loss of principal. And of course, I need to also emphasize that the paper money software application is for educational purposes only. The demonstration's done here today. Okay, so quick recap of our series. We have 8 lessons planned. We're on lesson 3. In that first lesson, downloading and navigating Thinkorswim. For those that are brand new, I think that's vital. Then we got into the navigation of the individual tabs on the Thinkorswim software, starting with the Monitor tab. And that brings us to today, lesson 3, the Trade tab. I think this is where the rubber really starts to meet the road. Cameron, how do I place a trade on Thinkorswim? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, we have a specific agenda in order to accomplish that. We're going to be exploring the Thinkorswim platform navigation again, and we're going to be discussing Thinkorswim trading and investing tools and resources. Some of you are going to be fairly familiar with these, but I'm going to try to give you something new for just about everybody that's watching. Then in future webcasts, we'll use some of those tools and resources to locate and evaluate example strategy candidates. All right. If you need a quick reminder, if you haven't yet downloaded Thinkorswim, a couple of places you can do that. You can download on Schwab.com. You just go right up to the Trade tab, click on the trade platforms area, and you'll see a link there that'll help you download Thinkorswim. Or you can just go right to Thinkorswim.com. In either case, one of the great functions of Thinkorswim is that it provides access to your live accounts for trading and managing those, but also to a platform that we call Paper Money, which is a nearly identical mock-up of the real thing. Just allows you to practice new strategies and new tools in a no-risk environment. And final note here, there is no need to create a Thinkorswim independent username and password. You can just use the same login information that you use for Schwab for logging into Thinkorswim, whether using Paper Money or live trading. Okay, so let's go to the platform. Let's get acquainted with that Trade tab. So once you've downloaded the software, you'll log into Thinkorswim. You'll typically find yourself landing here on the Monitor page. Okay, I'm going to navigate to the Trade tab, and we're going to spend the rest of our time here. I'm also not going to need this left column really for much that I have planned to discuss today, so I'm going to hide that using a little toggle right here at the margin between the left area and the right area. We can hide the entire left field of gadgets. Okay, so let's start to get acquainted with the Trade tab. I do think it's kind of exciting. This can be, if this were in a live trading environment, it could be a nerve-wracking experience. We might be in here clicking on buttons, doing things that carry actual risk. Well, I'm in the Paper Money environment. This is simulated trading, so we can get ourselves acquainted. We can do some practicing with no risk. So how about we pop up here and let's load up the trade page. The way that we do that is we type in a symbol. Now, you may know the symbol for the security you want to review. If you don't, I'll show you a little tip for that, but you can just type your symbol up here. Another thing that you could do, if you don't know the symbol, just start to type in the name of your security. For example, let's say I'm looking for Apple Incorporated's common stock. I can just start typing in Apple, and in the drop-down menu, there it is. There's our Apple stock, so I'll select that. Anyway, that loads the page, and now we get to start exploring. So just to acquaint us with this, within the trade tab, as with the other tabs on Thinkorswim, there are going to be subtabs, a row of subtabs. In this case, we have something called all products, which means, from this tab, we can load symbols and trade all sorts of products, including stocks and options and futures and Forex and all kinds of things like that. I'm going to be focusing our energies and attention on stock trading primarily, but also some options, okay? Not going to be really getting into Forex and futures, but just so that you know, there are also tabs that could be important here on the trade tab for Forex traders, for futures traders. There's something known as the active trader that I'm sure we'll dedicate an entire webcast to in a future presentation, and something called pairs trader. Now, this webcast series is called Getting Started with Thinkorswim. There are some functions that I might decide to put a pin in, and I'll let those be explored in our webcast series called Exploring Thinkorswim, which is a little bit more intermediate to advanced discussion of the platform. So you may want to check that out. That's on Tuesdays at the same time as this webcast series, okay? But just a little bit more advanced. So today, just so you know, we're going to be spending our time on the all products page. Eva says you love the trade tab. Yeah, lots of stuff here, right, Eva? I would suspect, I've known Eva for a long, long time. She, along with so many other of our attendees, have been using Thinkorswim for a long time, but watch for stuff that you didn't know. Also, as we dive in here, quick heads up, not everything I show is going to be for every investor or trader out there. So really, learn what you can, but sort of focus on what's important to you. And if the rest, if it seems to be not important to what your approach is to the management of your portfolio, that's great. Okay, I don't expect it all to be. All right, but on the second row here, next to our symbol, there are a few additional functions I want to examine. First of all, is this down arrow. This can be very useful if we don't know a symbol, or if we just want to quickly navigate to things like individual securities or to our current positions or even to indexes. That can be done using this little down arrow. If I click on that, you'll see I get another pop-up menu with a row of tabs, including one tab that says positions. So these are all the positions in the combined portfolio up here. I can also just go to all and see all sorts of symbols, including futures information. One tab that I would probably draw the attention of this audience to is the indices tab. If you don't have all the symbols for the major market indices memorized, they're actually listed right here. You can quickly scroll down through them, read through them, but as a quick tip here, the NASDAQ composites right here at the top, Dow Jones Industrial Averages second, and if I were to just scroll straight to the bottom of this list, there's also the S&P 500, and there's the Russell, okay? So I'll let you explore the rest of these tabs on your own, but be aware that all of this is accessible with just a clicking on that little down arrow. Just to the right of that symbol, and by the way, I'm going to do a quick overview of the basic navigation of this page, and then I want to make sure that we hurry up and place a trade, because I know that some of you are just like, Cameron, just show me how to buy a stock, how to sell a stock on Thinkorswim. Okay? All right. But just to the right of this is the symbol link. What this allows us to do is link this page to other pages or functions on the platform. And I've demonstrated that in previous webcasts. But just for example, if you'll notice on my charts, I have the link here. It's a red number 1. And on my trade tab, you'll see it's also a red number 1. So if I type a symbol in on this page, it's linked to other pages where I've established that link. If this were a different color, let's say it were yellow, and I made a change, let's maybe bring up General Electric. If I go back to the trade tab, you'll notice no change has been made here. If I switch this back to red, you'll notice it automatically populated with Apple because those pages are now linked. Okay, so let's go back to our trade tab. To the right of that is obviously the name of the company. Then we have the current price that the underlying, that's what we'll call the company. You'll see that phrase used, underlying. That means basically the stock or whatever, the symbol here. Just to the right of that tells us how much that symbol is up or down in dollar amount or percentages. To the right here, we have B and A. B stands for the bid price. A is the ask price. Typically, when buying and selling securities, we will typically pay the ask price or receive the bid price when we're selling. Okay. ETB is a reference to those that are maybe looking to sell a security short. I won't go too far into what that entails. Realize it is a strategy with massive, as a matter of fact, unlimited upside risk. Okay. But ETB just stands for easy to borrow. Might mean that this security, if one were inclined to sell it short, one might be able to actually sell it short. If we see an HTB, it literally means hard to borrow for those who sell short. They know what I'm talking about, and they know that the implications there is that even if they want to sell it short, they may not be able to. Finally, we have the exchange here. And over to the right is something called the company profile. We'll have a look at that in just a moment. I do want to point out the menus over here, okay? Our menu is 3 dots, 3 dashes, and it allows us to take all sorts of actions regarding our security. Okay, so for example, let's say I wanted to add Apple to a watch list. Well, I have one example watch list in this portfolio, and I could add Apple to that just by clicking on Magnificent 7. Now, it happens to be in the Magnificent 7, so I won't do that. We can also add notes to Apple. Create a ThinkLog note. Just say hello, I suppose. Obviously, it would typically relate to the trade and the reasons why it was taken, maybe reasons why it might be exited. But if we save that, that allows us to quickly then access that note the next time we're looking at that security. Okay, let me just delete that note. We can also get more information about Apple. All sorts of things. I'm going to pause right there. Now that we know that this menu exists and we're starting to get acquainted with this navigation, let me make a couple of other observations about the general navigation of this page, and then we'll place a trade. We'll come back to that menu, okay? All right, Pablo says, is there a way to make the text larger so it's easier to read? Now, Pablo, within one's paper money, you certainly can. What you can do, and I think this is not off topic because it has to do with the navigation of Thinkorswim, and it can be done right here on the Trade tab, but also anywhere one happens to be on Thinkorswim, you can come right up here to this gear icon, and that's what we call our application settings, that the application being Thinkorswim. So I can choose the look and feel of Thinkorswim, changing the font size from small, which is not going to be visible to you guys at all the way up to extra large. And you might think, oh, Cameron, do extra large, then we can see it a lot more readily. The problem with extra large as a presenter is everything gets very crowded. You can't see very much information at one time, and it actually makes the navigation a little bit more difficult. So I've selected a large as a balance between my desire to make my stuff visible to my audience and also my desire to make the navigation easy without having to slide things around so that we can fit it on the screen. Okay? But yeah, we can change that font size right there, Pablo, and then just apply those settings. Okay. But back to our navigation of the Trade tab, there are actually just a few general fields down below our symbol box. So we can see the underlying, which actually refers to, just think about that as like the stock information. Then we have Trade Grid, which is going to be stock charting information or other data that can be loaded there. I'll show you what that is. Next up, we have the option chain, which is where our options traders might go to look for and place options. Today's options statistics is just going to be data and metrics relating to options trading and volume and that sort of thing. Options time and sales is just really a tick by tick update on what's happening with specific options for specific securities. And then finally, we have something called product depth. All right. Now, this is the standard arrangement here. You may discover some of this might just not be important for you. So one thing that you can do is up here under this gear icon. Gear means customize, and this is where you could customize this page. For example, maybe you just don't use the option statistics. You can take that off. It doesn't have to be here. You can always put it right back on if you want to. Okay, see what happens when I check and uncheck that box? I'm just picking on today's option statistics for the moment. There we go, check and uncheck. All right, but now that we've acquainted ourselves with the general navigation, let's start to, I told you I'm gonna get back to that menu, and I will, but I do wanna show, before we get any deeper, just how to do trading, all right? Trading on Thinkorswim was designed to be as quick as possible. Okay, it really was designed. There are lots of users of Thinkorswim for whom time is of the essence. So let's say that we just had the concept, hey, I want to place a trade on Thinkorswim. Well, just as a heads up, we can actually do that on all sorts of other areas on the Thinkorswim platform. I'll demonstrate that later, okay? But one thing that we could do is just pop here to the trade tab, enter our symbol, and then to place a trade to buy, all we have to do is come to this underlying, and typically this would already be open. I closed it just so we could see this list, but we just come to the ask price. Now, in broker language, in trading language, when we say the ask price, that's typically the price that we pay when we buy shares of stock or buy an option. Think about it like if you wanted to buy anything from anybody. Hey, I'm interested, neighbor, I want to buy your car. How much you asking for it? Then you pay that ask price. Similarly, if we want to sell, we'd say, hey, I have a car for sale. How much will everybody bid for that? And you sell to the highest bidder. So yeah, buying, we typically pay at or close to the ask price. Bidding, we typically receive at or close to the bid price. So to place a buy order, we just simply click on the ask price. And that actually creates a complete order down here, okay? Now you can also notice I already have an order on Apple. So this is for a new position on Apple. But just by clicking on that ask price, this is actually a completely functional, if it suits the trader or the investor, completely functional trade. Stock order to buy 100 shares. We can change the share quantity if we want to. Shares of Apple at a price of whatever we set here, 191.84. We can set a limit price. Limit just means, hey, this is as much as I'm willing to pay. That's my limit. I don't want to pay more than that. We could also switch the order type to a market order, for example, if we're just saying, hey, I don't want to put a limit on things. I'll pay whatever the market price is. Just get me in. That's what some traders will use if they really want to get into the trade and they don't mind the uncertainty of knowing precisely how much they will pay as a maximum. There's obviously a risk when we put on a limit. If we were to say, let's say we want to pay not a penny more than 191.85, and as we're preparing our order and sending it off to market, and while it's waiting for its position to get filled, the price has run away, it's gotten too high, there's a risk the order might not fill, okay? We could also change the TIF, the time in force. A day order means that this order either gets executed today or it expires. If we place the order after the markets are closed, either it gets executed the next day or it expires. It's good for one trading day or to the end of a trading day. We can change that to a GTC order, meaning good till canceled. That order remains in force for at least, as long as up to 6 months. Anyway, but just to show you again, if I wanted to place a quick limit order on Apple, I could just go to the ask price, click on that. There's my order. I could customize the quantity if I wanted to. But that order is actually ready to go. I click confirm and send, buying 50 shares of Apple with a limit of, whatever. There's not a transaction fee on this example trade. I could send that off. That's as easy as it is to place an order on Thinkorswim. Now that's a buy order. If I want to place a sell order, I just click on the bid price, same process. I can modify the quantity if I want to. No, you don't have to place round numbers. If I wanted to sell 63 shares, I can sell 63 shares. If I want to buy 57 shares, as long as I can afford it, as long as it's allowed in the account type that I'm trading, I can do it here. Okay. Here I can also set my limit, market. I could set this as a stop order, change the time in force, but that's really as quick as it is to create and submit orders on Thinkorswim. One point that I would always make here, though, is that when we click the confirm and send button here, two notes that I want to make. Number one is this is a simulated trade. So there's no possibility that I'm actually going to lose or make money on whatever I do here. But also, whether we're on the live platform or on Paper Money, clicking on confirm and send has not obligated me to anything yet. The order has not been submitted. Next up, we get this order confirmation dialog box, which allows us to just make sure this is actually what I want to do. And I can read through this. Okay, I'm going to sell 63 shares of Apple. I'm demanding at least 191.84 in this case. That's my limit. If it's not available for that much, maybe I can't get that much. Okay. If I'm able to sell, that would give me this as my minimum credit. No commission here in this case. It's going to give me information for option, or for margin traders here. If this is selling to close out a position, that wouldn't really matter. But in any case, the final thing that I want to point out here is that I can direct it to a specific, and by the way, Rito says, can the length of GTC be customized? Yes, it can. We can actually set this order to expire at a specific time. We can even set the order to start at a specific time. Yeah. All right, but we could route this to a specific account. So for example, in this Paper Money portfolio, I have a margin account or I have an IRA. Which one do I want to buy or sell in? We can just route it right here, okay? But if I click send then, that's when it becomes an active order, and then we'll see what the market delivers for whether it's filled or not, okay? But yeah, the question just arose, can we customize these trades? Yes, right here on the trade tab, over to the right of your order line is a little gear. You can click on that gear and you get an order rules page. So the way that I think about this is right up here at the top is what I've already told the system. Hey, I was going to sell 63 shares of Apple at a limit, and then I've set in my limit, or I could change it to a market or whatever here. But let's say let's put our limit here. I want to sell for at least, who knows, $195. So is that going to happen right now? No, I could change that to a good till cancel order. So if the stock rises to 195, then we could sell. But you know what? Maybe I don't want to submit this right away. I could set this to be submitted at a specific time, on a specific date at a specific time here. I could also cancel that on a specific date in the future at a specific time. So that's how you could make those customizations. There are other things that we could do here today. What I will do in the future is I'll dedicate one of these webcasts in this series just to getting more fancy with orders, show you all the sorts of potential of the orders. I will say, though, we'll come back to that, to additional orders within this discussion. All right. There we go. So that was quite a bit. Just remember, to buy or to sell, I could just click on the bid price. To buy, I can just click on the ask price, and then I can either choose to customize or I can just confirm and send, and off we go. All right. So the underlying area is where I go to do that stock trading. In the underlying field, I can see the last, or basically the last trading price for my security. I can see the change, the bid and the ask. I can see the size, which is it's a description of the size of bids and asks, buy orders and sell orders that are coming in, okay? Bid first and then ask. This is the trading volume for the day. I can see the open, the high, and the low price, but also if I click on this little caret, there's even more information that can be found here. I can see how much the last trade was, with the size of that trade. I can see dividend yield on my stock. I can see, this is a symbol just for where the the quote is coming from. But this is the dating of the volume the ex-dividend date. I'm sorry, dividend frequency. One thing that I did want to show over here is the beta. Beta is a measure of volatility of the stock relative to the S&P 500. So for some traders, they'll look at that just to gauge, generally, are they getting a more volatile or less volatile stock? Okay. Yeah, but last size, yield, PE, dividend, dividend frequency, ex-dividend, all of that information found right there. So that's it for the underlying. Next up, we have the trade grid field. So let's hide the underlying and let's focus our attention on the trade grid. And what this does is it gives us 3 interactive little boxes where we can look at individual stocks, or we can look at the same stock just through different metrics. So for example, let's load up Apple here. And by default, this is going to be giving us the level 2 information, but there are lots of other things that I can load into this field. So level 2, let's see, somebody just asked a question, is canceling or replacing order after this field involve another set of transaction fees? Nirmal, that's a great question. You know, on stock trades, there's not a commission, okay? But on other types of trades, there can be. But an order placed only has an associated commission that's charged if the order fills. So you could place and cancel and place and cancel and replace and do all sorts of trades, submit all sorts of orders. As long as they fill, there's not a commission charged. Then if we do get a fill, let's say you did a string of 10 placed orders and then canceled, do you get 10 commissions once the last one finally fills? No, you get charged 1 commission. Okay, so an order that is placed but not filled, if you just cancel it, no harm, no foul. That thing's just a part of history now. Okay, but yeah, we can set up all kinds of things within these within this trade grid. For example, right now we're seeing level 2. Let's say we wanted a chart of Apple there. You see how I did that? There's a little menu up in the upper right, and I can load up more information on Apple. Now, you can find the gadgets. You can also see those gadgets are listed within more information, but you can set up alerts. You can place trades from here. You can get what's called market depth. Anyway, let's do a couple of other functions here. Let's load up Apple here. You could even do a different stock right here, okay? Well, let's say we wanted our gadget, maybe our time and sales, whatever. So yeah, that trade grid is a place where we could quickly set up whatever information, streaming information that's important to us on a single stock or on multiple stocks. Good stuff there on the trade tab. Next up, we have our option chain. And in my experience, the underlying and the option chain are probably the most commonly used fields here. That's not going to be true for every investor or trader out there. Mike Jones says, can you change the gadgets available? You certainly can, Mike. I mean, you can, whatever is available, whatever you see there in that trade grid, those are the available gadgets, but also the more info has the same gadgets plus a number of other potential functions that could be loaded into that trade grid, okay? But what is the option chain? I don't want to spend too much time on this because not everybody watching is an options trader. But as I mentioned at the outset of this discussion, not everything that I demonstrate is going to be for everybody, right? So pick and choose what seems to be important for you. But the option chain is where a trader might go to place trades for options strategies of all different types and stripes. And it's laid out like this. When you open up that option chain, you're going to see the available options expirations stretching all the way out to the horizon of that security. So in the case of Apple, that means that we have options available for as few as 4 days, and there are options contracts available for as many as 788 days. The dates here tell us the specific dates on which those contracts expire. To the right, again, is the number of calendar days until the expiration. When we see the number 100, this is a reminder that these are what we call standard options contracts, representing the potential exchange of 100 shares of the underlying. And then when you see purple, the color purple is an indication that these are something other than a standard third Friday expiration option. Okay, so for example, weekly options will be displayed in purple. Or if you see some option that's been affected by what we call a corporate action, a stock split, a dividend payment that, or a share payment that changes the structure of the shares, that could result in a non-standard option. So anything that's non-standard in quantity represented or in expiration other than the third Friday of the month, that'll be shown in purple. Okay, but as we open up the AJ says my platform doesn't have quarterly contracts. AJ, there is a filter here. Notice the filter shows us the expiration types. Okay, so if I were to check the box for expiration types, it might just show the regular options, meaning just the ones for the traditional third Friday expiration. Make sure that that box is also, if you want to see quarterlies, check the box for quarterlies. But by default, probably most of you would just leave any of these unchecked, leave that filter off, and that way you can see the entire options chain. We can also check if we have a specific strategy in mind. We can change the spread, meaning, let me open up one of these expiration dates. If I open that up, this is going to show us the calls on the left. It shows us the puts on the right. We have our strike prices down the center, and then we have 4 default columns. We have the bid and the ask, and then by default, the last price for each contract and the net change in the value of that contract. Okay, these ones, the bid and the ask, are what we call the current layout, and those are customizable, either individually by clicking on the column heading, and then we can change it to something else. So for example, maybe I want to, let's change my my net change to, who knows, maybe the size of the last trade. Okay, so notice we're able to customize these columns individually, or we can change the layout entirely. So here's our default last price. The X stands for price. Net change. I could change that to, let's change it to the Greeks. Delta Thama. I just made up a new Greek. Delta Gamma Theta Vega. All right. So the layout just determines what's displayed in the columns, and those, as I mentioned, are individually customizable. One other thing that we could do is just customize right from scratch. Here's the current set of columns. Here are all kinds of other columns that could be chosen. And we can just add columns from here, remove columns from there. We've done that before. You've seen that sort of navigation in previous webcast series, so I won't repeat that. Okay, but finally, we do have this spread single. For the options traders in the audience, what this is doing is it's showing us the individual strikes, the single strikes. If we have a specific strategy in mind, let's say I wanted to do a vertical spread. Well, I could come up here and change my spread to vertical. And what that's going to do is pair up the strikes. By default, it's going to pair up the strikes, one strike with the next strike. So for example, now, if I were looking at a 15th of December option, I could say, well, let's say I want to sell a call spread. We're trading at 192. Maybe I want to sell the 195-200 call spread. Change my spread layout to vertical, and I could just click on the bid price, and that would actually create a sell order. With options, we buy and sell just like with stocks. Click on the ask price to buy, click on the bid price to sell. Okay? So let's do that. Let's change our spread. Actually, let's do it while we have one of these expirations open. You'll notice right now we're arranged for a vertical spread. Let's change this back to a single. And to buy, let's maybe buy an at the money Apple option. We're trading around 192. The at the money would be the 190. To buy some contracts, I just click on the ask price, and that creates a buy order. By default, my thinkorswim platform is set to buy 1 contract. Most will be set to 10 contracts, okay? But you can just change the quantity right here. Like just delete what's in there, replace it with the desired quantity, and that's going to have the intended underlying, the intended expiration, the intended strike price, the intended side. I can set a limit order right here, change it to market if I want to, change the time in force. Anyway, all of that very quickly done, and I could confirm and send my order right here. Okay, now you'll notice on this, it's an option contract. There is a commission, 65 cents per commission per contract. In this case, 65 times 3, because I chose 3, would be $1.95 in commissions. I could send that order off. I'm not going to do that, but that's how we create an order to buy an option. To sell, we just click on the bid price, and there's an order to sell. We can customize it and confirm and send. Okay, so there's our option chain. There's so much more that we could explore here, and we will in future discussions in this webcast series. So I do hope that you'll put it in your calendar to join me every Monday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But let's just take another quick look at the last few areas down here. Next, we have today's options statistics. How many of you? Chat in, let me know how comfortable are you with the today's options statistics area. Let's highlight a few items here for our options traders. One that might be interesting is the implied volatility high and low. Options traders will use this to generally gauge whether they're paying a higher or lower price on the options compared to quote unquote normal. Well, what is normal? Well, over the last 52 weeks, the highest implied volatility for Apple has been up, and this is an average, 0.44. Right now, the low is 0.17. Right now, our implied volatility is at 19, or in other words, we're at the 6th percentile. So in other words, we're really close to the lowest we've been over the last 52 weeks. So the way that an options trader might interpret that is, these are pretty low priced options compared to the range over the last 52 weeks. Now off to the right, we can also see trade information about the options on Apple. We can see how many calls have traded today, how many puts have traded today. The average, we can see whether those are trading, how many of those are traded at the bid, at the ask, between the markets, which deltas have been most popular today. Over to the right, we have something called the Sizzle Index. And this is really showing us, is this a lot of trading on Apple? The Sizzle Index, if it's a 1, that just means sort of an average day. If it's above 1, that's above average. If it's below 1, it's below average. So yeah, we're looking at about 92% of average trading volume across all Apple's all of the options on Apple. About 95% of normal for calls, about 89 or 90% for puts. So that Sizzle Index can be interesting to options traders. Okay, but there's just an overview of today's option statistics. Next up, we have something called options time and sales. It won't take me very long to explain this. This is basically just a trade by trade. This is showing us what's happening with options on Apple moment by moment. So what you'll see is this is going to update in real time. Hey, there's one contract at 47 cents coming from a specific exchange of this option over here. So this is just it's telling us what trading is happening. The option, the quantity, the price, the exchange the trade came from, the market at the time, the delta that trade transpired at, implied volatility, what the underlying price was, what the stock was at the time of the trade, and the condition. This is either just going to be an individual leg trade, or it's going to be some sort of a spread, a multi-leg strategy. Okay. Tim, you didn't know about that? Well, hopefully you're enjoying this stuff. I knew there's going to be something new for just about everybody. Now, finally, we have something called product depth. I don't know how far I want to go into this, but it's a graphical representation of all sorts of things relating to option strike prices. Okay. Really, it's showing us, by default, this is showing us the implied volatility of the 19 expiration series on apples. That's pretty deep. I don't know if I want to go too far into this, but you can see a bit of a U shape to this. The at the money options will typically have the lowest implied volatility, rising as we go out of the money up or out of the money down. That's a quick way to look at that. Those are the calls, those are puts. I'll let you explore that just so that you can change the inputs up here. I can see graphical representation of the deltas at each strike price for the different expirations. I can modify to show, whether I want to see all the strike prices, if I want to see maybe just one series, maybe the 15th of December, see what's going on at different strike prices with the delta for those options. I mean, that's what can be done on this product depth, but I did want to at least give you an introduction to it. Biggest deal here, though, is the ability to probably place trades, I think. So we've had an introduction to how to buy stocks. We've had an introduction how to, well, I should say buy and sell stocks, how to buy and sell calls or options. Let's just take our last minute or so and just explore another common use for order entry here on the trade tab. Let's suppose that we wanted to buy some shares of Apple, but maybe we wanted to wait for the Apple price to drop a bit, down to 190 bucks. And then we have a plan. If it pops up $20, let's say we are able to buy it at 190. If it goes up to 210, let's sell and take profits. Or, and again, this is just as an example, if we buy at 190 and it falls down to 180, we'll just sell and take our lumps. Well, here's what we might do here. I'm going to right click on the ask price instead of left clicking. If we do a left click, that creates just a plain old buy order. I'm going to right click and put in a custom buy order with something known as an OCO bracket. What this does is it creates an order to buy shares and then two orders for selling shares. So we can sell and take profits or sell and take losses. So let's leave our quantity at buying 100 shares. And I can even change this. Let's say we change that to a market order, okay? Meaning we're just going to buy the 100 shares. No, let's stick with the example that I just laid out. Let's say we want to wait. If the price happens to drop down to 190 bucks, we want to buy there, but we want to sell those shares if we pop up to $210 and take profits, or sell those shares if we drop down to 180 and take losses, okay? So our 210 is going to be our limit order to sell. That means I want to sell at this price, not a penny less. That's my limit. Our 180 is going to be our stop order. Ooh, this trade is going the wrong way. Stop the bleeding, stop the bust. I want out of this trade. Now, finally, for our order here, let's change this to a good till canceled order, okay? That means that our sell orders aren't just going to expire on us in 15 minutes, which is how much time we have left in this trading session, but these will remain in effect. And then hopefully we'll either run up and we'll hit the 210 and sell, or we fall down to 180. Now, the thing that I want to point out here is this is known as a one cancels other sell order, because do we want to buy 100 shares and then sell if they go up and take profits, and also sell if it drops down and take our losses? No. If one of those fills, it cancels the other order, okay? But yeah, you can set up essentially multi-leg exits on your stock orders, and this can be done on options as well to take profits or take losses. So I did want to show at least one advanced order type. We'll set aside an entire webcast for exploring different ways that we can place stock trades and options trades, okay? Now, I'm not going to submit this order. Just be aware that, when we put in a limit order of any type, it's not a guarantee that we're going to be able to fill that order. And if we put in a stop order of any type, it's not a guarantee that that's going to be the price that we receive, right? That's it. Okay, so I'm going to close that out. Guys, we have accomplished a lot. I knew we would be covering a lot of territory today. I wanted to just pick what's important to you. Not every feature is going to be important to every self-directed investor out there. So a lot more to explore. Next time, we're going to be getting into charting on Thinkorswim. I'm looking forward to that discussion, but it is time for me to set you loose. I appreciate it when you give me your time. I appreciate your time and your attendance, but we've accomplished the exploration of the Thinkorswim platform navigation of the Trade tab. We've discussed Thinkorswim trading and investing tools and resources. In future webcasts, we'll get into those tools and resources to locate and evaluate example strategy candidates. But time for me to let you go. Everybody, thank you. Ken's made the suggestion that you follow us on X or on Twitter. Please do that. At Ken Rose CS is Ken's handle there. Mine is at Cameron May CS. It's a really great resource that not everybody takes advantage of. Also, make sure that you're subscribed to the Trader Talks webcast from Schwab Coaching channel on YouTube. It's a great place to find the archives for these webcasts, but also be aware that on the calendar at schwab.com/coaching, you can go to previous webcasts, click on the links, and you'll find a YouTube link there as well. Okay? Everybody, thanks for giving me your time today. I'm going to let you go. As you go, remember that risk is real. We did use real examples in today's discussion. It's not a recommendation or endorsement of those securities or those strategies. I'll look for you in future webcasts in this series. I'll look for you on other webcasts on other topics. I'll also look for you on X. But hey, whenever I see you again, until that moment arrives, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy investing. Bye-bye.